Something strange is going on is following what has been a crazy series thus far. Some new rumors have dropped surrounding the Toronto Maple Leafs, and something strange is going on behind the scenes that we're going to address or break that down, as well as discuss an interesting update. We have some more updates surrounding the Leafs and an update on the Panther side ahead of tomorrow night's game that has huge implications. So a bunch to go over today, folks. Before we get into it, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. If you're part of the 71% who aren't subscribed, make sure that subscribe button. You guys are fantastic. You've been beasts. All these different things. Thank you, Darius. Ton to go over today. Obviously, there's a lot of interesting things going on surrounding the Toronto Maple Leafs, and there's been some conspiracies that we've been talking about. There's been some interesting things, and let's dive right back into the conspiracy mill here. We got to give credit to Steve Dangle, and he came out, and I'll paraphrase for you what was said. Steve has a gross theory about the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we did some research behind the scenes here, and essentially what he's saying is, and feel free to, let us know what your thoughts are. He basically says that the Toronto Maple Leafs, his theory is that one of the reasons they haven't been playing well since coming to Florida is that they have a lot of guys that are sick, and we have some evidence to support this. Of course, OEL today was actually sick, and Steve Dangle dropped this before the OEL stuff came to light here. So he's saying that all these different equipment violations, and we've been talking about it behind the scenes. Chris Tanev, I think Yarncroke had one earlier on the series. All these different guys dealing with equipment issues could be because they're actually dealing with an illness. And we think back to OEL today, Matt Murray in game 2, I believe it was. Something is going on here. Not saying it's 100% confirmed or anything like that, but it would make some sense. And if you read and listen to some of the press conferences, things are very interesting, and this could make a lot of sense as to why the Leafs haven't been playing well. I don't want to make excuses. It's not why they're losing the games, but something we wanted to bring this up because we're in full conspiracy theory mode here, and it could make some sense.
Yeah, well, they haven't been playing well the last two games. Although I do think game three, I mean, anybody could see it if you watch the game, was a lot better than game four. Obviously, game four, they did not play well. They had almost nothing near the end, actually. It was kind of weird, very uncharacteristic for the Leafs these playoffs, which is very refreshing to say. But Steve Dangle went on to say that, he thinks that obviously, a bunch of them are sick. He said that if you watch the post-game press conferences, not even the post-game press conferences, but a bunch of like the pre-game ones, the media availabilities in between games, some of their voices sound kind of weird. That could just be the microphones, could be anything at this point. Obviously, that is a conspiracy. But now that he's pointed this out and that OEL mispracticed today with an illness, I'm starting to pick up on a few things. And if you go back a couple days and a couple games, Chris Tanev left the game for an equipment issue. I think William Nylander did at one point. Yarncroke did. Matthew Nyes did. So a couple of guys left for equipment issues, which these days, if it's a skate issue or whatever, they can figure it out on the bench, right? You've seen that in the past, but everyone's going off for equipment issues. And then even Stolarz at the time, when they showed this, I was watching without the volume when they showed this in the intermission. And I was like, is Stolarz sick? Maybe he's battling like a bug or something, because you could tell he's obviously throwing up, but I didn't really make the connection with, oh my goodness, he might have a concussion, right? So obviously that came later, but in the moment I was like, oh, I wonder if there's something going through the team. And if you can remember back to last year, Austin Matthews missed almost the entire series against the Bruins for a stomach bug or something that he was dealing with. They didn't even know what he was dealing with. It was some illness. So, there's a lot of people in the GTA right now that are sick as well. So there could be something going around. If you look at the Florida Panthers side of things too, heading into game 4, Paul Maurice said there was going to be a lot of interesting lineup decisions. It might have been game 3 actually, or even both, because of health. He didn't specify injury or anything like that. He just said because of health. So maybe there is something going around both teams right now. And again, it's not an excuse. Neither team is going to come out and say, nah, I'm sick. I'm not feeling well. Like, this is why I'm not playing well, right? They're going to put their head down. They're going to get to work and try to win this series. But it does kind of make a lot of sense if you start to look at everything that's happened. Matt Murray, like you mentioned too, he missed, an entire game. Dennis Hildeby popped up in the bench. We saw game 3. We're like, oh, why is this guy on the bench, right? So he was sick. He missed time with an illness as well. So there's definitely something going around. I wonder if that has something to do with how terrible they played in game 4. But again, there's no excuses. Put your head down, you get back to work, and game 5 is tomorrow.
Yeah, and these things happen a lot. William Nylander with the migraine last year, obviously, was a devastating thing. And it's an interesting proposition, of course, with this coming out in the OEL actually being sick today. And of course, if a bunch of people are sick on the Leaf side, they're never going to say that because then, of course, if you're the Panthers and you're not sick, you could really take advantage of that, do quick shifts, all these different things. They're never going to say that publicly unless it's individual instances here. And also, Joseph Woll missed practices in the Ottawa series due to illness, and then Matt Murray didn't pack up Woll. So there's so many different things going on here, and we're mainly just bringing this up to say, obviously, regardless of if they're sick or not, they need to come out and play better. But it's a very interesting, there's a bunch of interesting theories going around, and it's that time of year. But regardless, it's not an excuse. They need to be better. And I think they will be better. And obviously, Steve Dangle saying that they're, doing interesting things there. So let us know down below what your thoughts are. And again, it is not confirmed by any means. You can see here from Craig Berube, nothing terrible, but I thought it was better he stay off today and rest up. And at the very least, it seems that they're dealing with something. And obviously, it is true they have been. And hopefully, they get better soon. But I think the 2 days of rest here, which is really the biggest point of this video especially, these 2 days of rest should do miracle work for them to get better. I'm sure they have access to a ton of medication, whatever's going to, the best medication in the world to help them get better, feel better. But at the end of the day, resting is going to be key. And if they rest, which they are today, yesterday, hopefully they'll be good to go. And Joseph Woll especially, he's been very, very solid in this series, and hopefully they can get going there. So let us know down below if you think there's anything to this. Of course, we're just bringing it up to shed some light to it, because after the OEL sickness and all these different things, and even if you just want to take the facts that we have now with all the illnesses that have happened, hopefully OEL is feeling better and doesn't pass it on due to anybody else. And of course, hopefully OEL will be better himself. But let's dive into some other updates here. And this is regarding, this is, of course, back on May 9th regarding the, like you mentioned, the health issues. But we also have an update on a couple of different guys. Now, we know Craig Berube said that Anthony Stolarz is progressing. He won't be in the lineup. But Evan Rodriguez is also going to be a game time decision, I guess, as of now. He was on the ice for the Panthers practice, but they wouldn't commit to if he was playing tomorrow or not. I want to get your thoughts on this. He's been their first line left winger, but of course, he went down with the hit by OEL, ironically. And hopefully he's all good. Hopefully he's okay, at least from a health perspective. But this is huge, has huge implications for the Leafs. If he doesn't play, that changes up a lot of things. Maybe they throw Carter Verhaeghe back on that first line. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to change the lineup a lot. And before we get to Rodriguez, one last thing on the illness thing. Austin Matthews, he's missed some time too, right?
Yep.
So we know that he's injured and probably dealing with something, but maybe he has something to do with an illness as well. But again, all speculation, but just wanted to point that out. But Evan Rodriguez, like you mentioned, he's been one of their better players. He was a big reason as to why they won the Stanley Cup last year. He kind of came out of nowhere. He's always been an underrated player in the league, but kind of came out of nowhere for the Panthers, and obviously a great player this year. He's been flying off the top rope like Macho Man Randy Savage with those elbows in the series as well, but he's been a factor for the Florida Panthers, right? So if he does not play, that will be a factor for the Leafs, something that they have to take advantage of, because the lines will change. And it could help the Leafs. It could not help the Leafs, right? Because we've seen the home ice advantage does a lot for either team in this series with the line matching. So it's going to be interesting to see. Again, he missed practice. He isn't necessarily available, but they didn't rule out him playing game 5. So it looks like he could play game 5. And of course, they're not going to tell us. They're going to keep it hush hush until, morning skate and actually the day of. But that is a factor going into tomorrow's game, because he's been a great player for them. And if he's out of the lineup, if Verhaeghe, like you said, comes up, or, there's some movement in the lines, how does that affect the Leafs and their line matching?
Yeah, and a couple other things here. Hopefully, the Leafs will take care of business, and let's hope, very much so hope, that the refs don't steal a game from the Leafs, and that the league doesn't steal a game from the Leafs. Shout out to, I'm pretty sure this is AI who made this, but regardless, shout out to that there. It's pretty funny. Ladies and gentlemen, let us know down below what your thoughts are on all this. A ton of new news coming. We'll have multiple videos for you all tomorrow. We'll be live following tomorrow's game. It's going to be a big one, and hopefully enjoy the stress-free hockey tonight if you're watching the Jets and the Stars. Very good series over there. But let us know, most importantly, down below what your thoughts are on this news.